This is our Sisters on a Journey. This is our monthly storytelling event that we do here in Quaker House. And we gather here and we tell stories because stories are something all of us have and stories are important. So, yeah, this is one of the wildest, craziest women. It's wilder and crazier than me. And that's a lot. So, you know, I just want to tell you I love you.
Yes, we're fans.
Yeah, we're fans. We're going to turn it over to her.
You can talk. I was say you can talk for a little while.
No, she's still doing little things.
I'm setting up all
She's
these.
setting up all these techno things over there.
All like techno
Mommy's got his guitar on.
Good
more, Chip.
Yeah, everything good. I'm going to run to the store, I think.
What? And then maybe I'll be ready. What?
No.
Oh, no, okay.
Oh, no, I said no. Are you really? No. Please. We can stop on
Okay.
There's a picture button.
I won't.
All right.
They might
Are
have
you ready?
cartons.
I have. Are these set, my darling?
Yes, they are.
Awesome.
I've already
I
began
know,
them.
don't you love them?
Okay, I have no idea what's going on. Hi there. Well, just leave that there and don't touch it. I think
Hey,
he's got.
somebody's coming in. I don't want to have to keep walking past them.
Well, then if you want
That's
to
okay.
keep
Walk
walking
past it.
or walk in front of the chairs or do
Okay,
something
you
or
want
whatever.
Yeah.
Chug, chug.
Hello. How are you?
Do you wanna move?
Come on. I'm seeing it.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. Yeah, we have a storytelling event. We're about to start right now. Go come and spit out.
Hi.
Take a nap over
Oh,
there.
take a nap. Well, she's been dancing all day. She needs a nap.
Is that my
All right. All righty.
Well, hi there. I'm hoping Oroki will come up here because I'm doing a bunch of pieces about my mom. Come up here, my darling. And because I'm publisher lady, I have a copy of everything I'm going to be performing in a thing called Journey. And of course, you get one of them, but you get to give the rest of them out because I got 4 of them and people can have them and that's that.
Oh,
Okay,
wow.
we'll have a raffle.
So,
That's beautiful.
Yeah, so I figured everybody can,
Come over this way, bro.
Oh, she wants to kiss.
Oh,
She
your
wants-
face is right. Oh, yeah, kissy, kissy. Beautiful.
Getting my teeth fixed on Thursday.
I got you sitting out of the way.
Well, anyway, I just figured I would have that in case people wanted to see them. The first thing that I was going to do is, as I said, these are all about my mom, and I'm getting really close for camera shots. And I will say the name of the first one, and then I will just talk in general about stuff for the poems in the future, so you'll get the idea. But this first one, let me see if this will work. F5. And then there was images. This first one is called Cry For Me. She never liked to see her daughter cry. It would make her cry, too. You go in there, talk to her, she would say to another daughter. I remember once crying at my father and running upstairs to my room. I was laying on my bed in the dark. My sister tried to come in. I told her to leave me alone. Then my mother knocked, and I couldn't tell her to go away. She came in, sat on the bed, started crying. You just see, I always turn into such a mess. But it was nice to see her cry for me. My mother went through a lot, so I probably won't say titles of things, but if you have copies of chapbooks, I guess you could see along, because she had copies to distribute. So these are just a bunch of pieces related to my mom. My mom had breast cancer, and the 3 girls flew to visit her. And my mom said that she felt bad that she couldn't make her trip better because she just found out that she had cervical cancer, too. But we couldn't have come at a better time. So she had procedures, she had surgeries, and the cancer was gone. She was in the clear. So for a decade, she went to the doctor and they found no cancer in her and all seemed well. She had beaten a killer. A decade after her bouts with cancer, she went back to the doctor. A decade after her bouts with cancer, she went to the doctor, had a fever, felt tired. And they said, it's funny, you've got all the symptoms, and most women who've had as much cancer in their blood in their history as you've had, well, it seems you now have leukemia. Now, this leukemia is a tricky thing. Cancer of the blood instead of cancer of an organ, where it was easier when you could just remove an organ and leave it at that, but this was cancer of the blood. The cancer crept into her bone marrow, and they had to periodically drill into her hip bone for a bone marrow biopsy to see if there was any cancer in her bone marrow. Must be a fun job to drill a hole into an angel's hip bone. I didn't realize how much pain she was in. She looked like her neck hurt, her back hurt. So I'd asked if I could rub her neck or back. She'd say no. And then she'd say that wouldn't help, that it hurts down in the bones. And we read this is one of the states of the disease. This is one of those stages. And I don't know what it feels like to hurt in the bones. It's something deeper than a deep muscle pain. I can't imagine it. I can't imagine what it feels like. I think my mom wouldn't let on about how much pain she was in. When the doctors told Mom she had 6 months to a year with this disease, I said to Mom, your father, my grandfather, had cancer, and the doctor said he had 6 months to live. How long did he live? And she said, 6 years. And I said, there you go, 6 years. You know that we Bakudas come from a strong stock, and you can be okay if you fight. But I think Mom remembered the agony of the last weeks of her father's life, and I think Mom was in so much pain that she made a decision right then and there that she didn't want that pain deep down in her bones any longer, and decided to let her enemies win. We keep saying to people that it's better if she's not suffering anymore. It kills us inside. But we don't want her to feel that pain anymore. So we keep telling everyone that this is for the best. Can you imagine a water glass filled with crystal clear water, and I don't know what an earthquake feels like, but imagine something that you have no control over starting to shake everything around you, and everything just starts shaking, and that water in that glass is starting to ripple, and it's starting to splash in that glass, and you want to hold on to that damn glass to make that water stay in place, and you're shaking with that glass, and you don't want anything to fall apart, and you see everything around you unexpectedly start shaking like everything's about to tear in half, and you watch that water rippling in the water, and you realize that your soul is shaking like that too. Every time I listen to the radio and hear an ad for cancer research, granted it's usually for tumors, well, now I have to listen attentively. I know, she had cancer before, breast cancer, cervical cancer, and after the surgery and after the chemo, she got a clean bill of health. But now she's got leukemia, a cancer of the blood, not in a tumor, so there's no one place, no one spot to attack. But every time I hear a cancer ad, my ears perk up like a Pavlovian dog. It's like someone just rang a bell and it makes me listen attentively. I know it doesn't make a difference. I think she was at one of the best hospitals, right here in Chicago. One of the best hospitals, but I hear about these research places and I wonder if there are glimmers of hope. as I said, I know it's irrelevant. She's already gone through 2 types of chemo, and I know she's decided to stop the treatment, and I know there's no point in a new therapy. But I still can't help it. I'm still forced to respond to these ads like some sort of stupid Pavlovian dog, and I hear these ads. They're supposed to mean nothing to me. Still, I listen. I make phone calls because now that my mother is dying and so far away, this is what it's reduced to now. I call. Dad answers because Mom can't talk. And now she has to take pills, you see, pills to keep her functioning as long as she can before the cancer in her blood does her in. And the potassium pills are so large they upset her stomach when she swallows them. A pill apparently went down sideways, injured her throat, so she has been unable to eat for over a week. Now they give her a liquid to slosh around in her mouth to make her numb so she can take her medication. Not to eat, but so she can take her medication. And this is what it's reduced to now, hearing bit by bit of her deterioration. Not that it matters to her, but just so you know, it's killing me too. Last night, my sister and I talked because she called me after it all heard about how Mom couldn't stand up and it looked like she was going to die very soon. Well, last night my sister called me and told me that she just talked to Dad and heard that Mom was feeling better and that she uses the walker to get her medications at night, and she's still able to use the washroom, and she even had champagne and blackberries. She was feeling better, and she even asked for wine coolers. And my sister and I laughed, and I said, she shouldn't be drinking alcohol. And she said, I don't care, the blackberries are soaked in alcohol, she's eating food. And we were just also thrilled that she was eating something again, and we thought that she'd be able to hold on for just a little longer now. My brother described it as like her last rally, her last chance to be happy, to live. And when I heard last night that Mom was drinking champagne with blackberries, I told my husband that we should buy some blackberries to celebrate Mom feeling better. The champagne is chilling, but we never got the blackberries last night. We had no idea that Mom would be celebrating with blackberries in her champagne in her final rally. So I've got this bottle of champagne in my refrigerator and no blackberries. They are my favorite fruit, you know. But I've got this bottle of champagne in my refrigerator and no blackberries. And I don't know what to celebrate anymore. Received a phone call today. This is Hazel in Naples. Your father can't talk right now. It was probably around 7:20 Central Standard Time. And she told me my mother died about 10 minutes ago. Dad got to the phone, said I was the only child he called. My husband watches me as I listen to the news. My mother has died and my father is falling apart 1,000 miles away. I tell him I'm sorry. I don't know what else to say. I rested my hands on the armrests of my desk chair. Everything suddenly felt very heavy. I didn't want to lift my hands, my fingers. It's almost as if after I heard, I'm too numb to cry. I've been crying enough before she left. And the tears will come later. Trust me. It's strange. I've never been close to Dad. And he called me from across the country minutes after Mom died. He told me that I was the only child he was calling, so it's my job to tell the brothers and sisters. So I scramble to leave them messages somewhere, call cell phones, act calm, break the news to everyone. It's my job to be the calm one. That's what I have to do. Left a message with my oldest brother. He calls back shortly afterward. I told him the news, and he started to break up immediately. Then told me, I have to hang up the phone now. Oldest sister called back. I told her the news, and she just couldn't believe it. Mom was doing so well the day before that this doesn't make sense. Then she realized what I had to be going through, that I had to be the messenger, that I had to be rational and tell everyone that their mother just died. She's my mom, too. Asked me if there was anything I needed. I couldn't think of any words. I'm the messenger, and I couldn't think of any words. I was in the minivan, Dad's new car, driven only 930 miles. Dad driving, sister in the front car, me and a brother in the back seat, my husband behind me in the far back seat. I waited so we could go to my mother's services. Well, they weren't services. She didn't want that. But Dad thought the kids would want to see my mother before she was cremated. So there we were, the family, in ties, black dresses, sitting and waiting in our little hearse to drive to Fuller Funeral Home for our final visit. We were in the car. My husband was in the far back seat, and he knew I was sad. He sensed I was crying while the hearse took us to the funeral parlor, and he reached his hand forward to take my hand, to touch my shoulder, to something. And I couldn't see his face, but his hand was a grave consolation as our hearse rolled on to our chance to say farewell. I was trying to not cry in that ride in that hearse to the funeral parlor. I've been a good Marine. I've been trained to not cry, but I couldn't help the tears at this point. And I did my best to stifle them so that no one would consider my sniffling and no one would question my faltering emotions. Once we arrived, I think we were all afraid to go into that room to see her. Well, I can't speak for anyone else. I know I was afraid. Afraid of what I'd see, afraid of I don't know what. Afraid of the finality of it all. Just afraid. So, I'm the littlest one. Of course, I let everyone else go in front of me and go before me. And they're supposed to want to see her more. That's what I hear. And we walked in, and there were many seats. And you could see her face, asleep, peeking out of the coffin in the distance. And we all just instinctively sat down. Dad finally walked to her. He knelt before her coffin. We watched him watch her, pray for her, talk to her. And I don't know what he was communicating with her when he was with her, but we all wanted that with her one more time. One sister went next, knelt, cried, then a brother, then another brother. And I watched this procession of family members, all older than me, all seemingly more important, all with more history with her than me, and my husband asked if I wanted him to go with me when I walked up to see my mother. that first time. And I thought, no, I need to do this myself. I finally walked up to her, knelt before her, looked at her in the dress that she wore to my wedding, and she looked so beautiful. She looked so peaceful. She looked like she was sleeping, and I hadn't seen her that peaceful in a long time. Every time I came to visit her, since the disease started, she always looked tired when she was awake. Otherwise, she was asleep, and she looked fitful in her rest. I looked at her eyebrows, and they were penciled in very nicely, and I looked down at her nails, and they were all long, very nicely painted. And the earrings we picked up for her to wear, oh, they were so dainty, and they were so lovely. And she looked so peaceful that all I kept thinking was that she just looked so well rested, like she was just taking a good nap, and that she would be just fine. She had to be. I looked at my mother one last time. These coming thoughts would be my final words to her face. This would be the last time I saw her. Make it good, girl. You're the one with the words. Tell her what you mean in 50 words or less. That's how these services go, right? I told her that I loved her. And I told her that I hope that I carry on any of her kindness, because that's how she will live on. Because the world is filled with people who aren't nice, who aren't kind, and losing her makes this world a worse place. People have told me that I am kind, that I am nice, and I only hope that I do you justice, and I can somehow make this world a better place, like you did. I only hope that I can do the world justice, because the world needs you now, Mom, and you had to leave us. So what do we do now? Before I left her that first time, I started to run my hands along my chest into a cross, because I wanted the spirits to know that you are there and that you are to be welcomed, because you are blessed, even if it's only from the likes of me. It seems strange that on the day the towers fell 5 years ago, where every television station and newspaper was praising the resolve for all of the death that had been forced upon us, well, it seems strange that 9/11 is the day the death certificates became available from Fuller Funeral Home. And this is the day we picked up my mother's ashes. Seems eerily strange. And Christina from Fuller Funeral Home handed me a small maroon bag tied tightly shut, and she whispered to me, "These are your mother's earrings." I knew the dress we chose for her, the dress she wore to my wedding, would be burned with her in the cremation, but it never occurred to me that the earrings would survive.
Wow.
And here they are, in a little velour bag for me. I like how people try to keep something from the fall of the World Trade Centers who have lived through the horrendous day on 9/11. Well, I think maybe this is what I'll keep. If anyone argues about them, I'll say, I lost the dress she wore to my wedding for the cremation, so these earrings are a gift to me now. Sorry. I know they're clip-on earrings, and they're not real diamonds, but they're 3 pretty little stones today, tomorrow, and forever, and they look so dainty and delicate, and they're a good token for me to remember her. When we left Fuller Funeral Home today, Dad carried the paperwork, the death certificates, and I carried Mom with us in our little containers, and I think I held that little red bag like there was a little angel inside, and I had to be delicate to make sure nothing happened to it, because I was its keeper now. I'll treat it well and treasure it always. I promise.
Gorgeous.
And by the way, the bag is still hanging next to a picture of Dad kissing Mom at her wedding in that dress. There. Anyway, but now I'm going to close out this whole story with this little ending piece for him. And now I sit and I write this story. And my father is sleeping in front of the TV in his lounge chair next to me. He says it's more comfortable there to fall asleep. And I'm listening to his breathing while he sleeps. And I hear him panting every 30 seconds while he sleeps, like he's having nightmares about it all still. And as I tell this story, there's still a panic in the air, even while we sleep. Give me a break for that. I do have some more pieces to say. Thank you very much. Thank you. I have to figure out how to get out of this. I do have 2 more pieces, which I have to have different, apparently, pieces of artwork for.
What is your maiden name?
Kuypers. I kept my maiden name. John Yatko here is my awesome husband.
Okay.
Because I did writing stuff, I'm just going to keep it, and I hope that doesn't bother you. And he said, no, it
What
doesn't.
nationality is that?
Dutch.
Dutch.
100% Dutch. Well, my father was 100% Dutch. My mother was 100% Lithuanian.
Yeah.
The Bakutas name is
Yeah.
Lithuanian.
So
Dutch
first or
woman.
second generation? How many generations?
They are first generation. Both of their parents, all of my grandparents, came from the old country here. They were born
First wave
here.
or
Their
second
first. They were. They came here, and they had my parents.
So they
so
came the first wave.
Yes, and my parents were first generation people born here.
Wonderful.
So that was that.
Did your mom have any interest in writing, or how did you feel that she carried on with you?
She was a creative person, but I think she took over the idea of doing creative things, but she was taking care of Dad more than anything else. She occasionally would do paintings of things, but it was, by the time I came around, I think she was kind of tired of doing it. And she was like, I got all these kids, I got Sandy, I got you, and she's like, I'm just like in retirement mode early with Dad or something. Pardon me?
How many siblings?
I had 2 brothers, 2 sisters. Eddie, Bobby, Lori, Sandy, Jet. I'm the littlest one, is all. So anywho, I have 2 pieces here, and I'm going to figure out if I can close these things. It's really hard to do this because I can't see. And I'm seeing this, and it's not listening to me when I say close. Silly. These are 2 brand new pieces that I wrote for this, to try to close this out and change a theme or something so it's not all completely sloppy. This first one is called Extinct on Planet Earth. Saw a slew of books for sale recently of species now extinct on planet Earth. Some books were massive volumes, like large catalogs categorizing the now dead. And I heard a statistic a while ago saying a species goes extinct every 90 seconds.
Wow.
I mean, these books can't be up to date when there's so much in our world that's dying so quickly. 99% of all species that have ever lived on Earth are now extinct. They're now gone. And I think of the death that precedes us, and I think of the death that we see around us. I wonder, when a loved one dies, do they become a name that will be forgotten? Maybe listed in a catalog like all those long gone extinct species? I think of my mother, and I wonder, will all that is left of this life, will it all be reduced to a line of type in small print, cataloged by genome? Maybe there's a word or 2, maybe a name, but it's just a few words. And is this all that is left? Yeah, I figure out melodies for these things. This is the last piece. I quote some of the older things, but this is why it starts by calling it old school, but I've got some all new stuff in here as well, which makes it a little more high-tech. This last one, and I'm going to need my high-tech stuff for this. I have no idea. I have no idea what's going on. This one is called, oh yeah, I guess I should change this and escape it so you can have some artwork for the last one. Whenever you feel. I gotta find the button. It's hard to do this when you not see what you're doing. See, I turned this and I couldn't get the thing to go, hello. Sorry that you, all right, fine, we're just gonna do this. Just leave it at that. This one is called Old School and High Tech Monuments. People stop to tell me that they are sorry about my mom. One woman hugged me and said, they always take the good ones. Because you'd think she'd gone through enough in her life for crimes she didn't commit. So, yeah, they always take the good ones. And it is unfair. It's completely wrong. Someone has to be held accountable. She was one of the good ones, and I hate you for taking her like that. I don't care who you are. You who leaves me here to write until my fountain pen runs dry. It becomes like a mantra. Record her stories. Record her praises. I will sit at my computer and slam my... I'm gonna lose this. I'm gonna lose all this stuff. I'm gonna sit at my computer and slam my hands, my fingers against that keyboard because there has to be a record. I'll share my stories. I'll write volumes. Book after book with traces of her will infiltrate libraries and online bookstores. I'll stand on every mountain peak. I'll sing her praises. I'll give people copies of these words. Because as I said, there has to be a record. And when the pens are gone, I'll prick my skin, spill my blood into words, onto pages. That is what these words mean. When my computer is obsolete and when the internet is dead, I'll ram mallet into stone to chisel these words, to create monuments to you. You want to see a record? Just know that civilizations eons from now will seek these testaments from salvaged libraries, from carved messages in stone, and they will live for these words. Trust me.
All right.
We live in a world where everything speeds by in 6-second increments. The world says our youth has attention deficit disorder because we cram a billion things down their throats instantaneously with every groundbreaking gadget to get all of that info that much faster. So, wait a minute. Why worry so much about the word when sometimes the message brings the meaning? Then fine, time to get high tech here. Let me start with a haiku. And I'll make it into a 6-second vine. Let me see if I can. Why not? Let's see if I can pull this out. Let's see if I can do this. Let's come up with a haiku. Ready? I have no idea what to. We'll see. Here we go. Hopefully this will work. Her existence makes trees take root, flowers bloom, so nature's beautiful. Haikus are supposed to be about nature. She made everything grow. That seemed totally perfect.
That's what I
words. You know, haikus are supposed to be about nature, so we'll make it that. And, you know, things are beautiful when you actually speak the truth. And, hey, you know, this could be a Twitter-length post, too. I put out. I see your face in there. It was just... Her existence makes... Yes! Awesome. That's awesome. I posted that up there. Well, I'm going to put these writings onto web pages. I will make free downloadable PDF files. I'll post them on Facebook. I'll go old school and I will make up magazines for it or even in collection books. I will do anything, you know, because I'll use every resource at my disposal to blanket this planet with these words. Because as I said, there has to be a record. When a life that beautiful comes and goes, the world needs to stand up, pay attention, and pay their respects.
All right. Thank you, darling.
Wonderful.
Whoa.
Wonderful. I squished you too hard.
Oh, no, that's okay. Thank you, darling.
I loved it.
Emotional
stand for Janet.
See, and I came with the legs of like, I have no idea what's going to work.
Beautiful. Mother.
Wonderful. And that's why I've got some of them in this, and that's why I had extra copies.
Wow.
Yeah. When did she leave?
Wonderful. 2001?
She died. No, 2001 was when the towers fell, and 5 years afterward, it was August. She died on August 31st, 2006.
Oh, my dad's birthday.
wow.
And well, you know what else happened on August 31st? That was the day that Princess Diana died.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like,
And I
one beautiful
just
woman to
got
the max. You
I
think these
just
weird references or whatever, but
Well, yeah,
you hear these
you
bizarre
remember,
things.
Yeah, and it's something that
I had
sticks.
And it
just
sticks, so
left
it's like,
Paris.
oh yeah, Princess Diana
Sure did. I
died
had
at the
just
same, well,
left
not the
Paris
same
when she
day,
died.
but you get the idea.
And I remember going to
She
that-
sounds like
that,
she had a
tunnel that
wonderful
she died in.
relationship.
And I said, yeah, I was just
Yeah.
there.
Mom was awesome. We don't, unless you want to be talking about moms, I have no idea, and I'm just sitting in a high chair. I'm in a high chair like a little kid. I don't know. Although I was way taller than hers, you could see from every photo I'm leaning in because she was the average, 5'6" or whatever. so.
Yeah, your dad must have had tall jeans then, huh?
He was tall, he's shrunk, getting older. But my oldest brother Ed is 6'7".
Oh,
The younger brother Bob was 6'1" or 6'2". Lorelai's an inch or two shorter than me, and Sandy was 5'6".
yeah.
So Sandy is an average height woman with the brunt of the litter. Like me and Ed are the tall folks. We're like, oh, yeah, us tall folk. They say that about Dutch people, well, I think it's because they eat fish, and I'm a vegetarian and I don't eat fish, so I don't know what that is.
You don't eat
Yeah.
Jeans, I don't know.
You weren't a vegetarian. But again, you didn't.
I didn't like fish when I grew up. It's weird.
How could you not like fish? Stinky stuff.
I wasn't a fish fan when I was little.
I know.
I don't know. My mother would eat this.
Eat the stinky
It's
fish.
common.
Throw that away.
There was one thing that I wrote at the same time that I wrote that Cry For Me thing. I wrote a bunch of pieces when she had breast cancer and stuff, and one of them was like, I'm sitting downstairs in the living room, and I decided I was going to go up to the kitchen and wash my hands, and she doesn't say anything, and I walk up there and I look, and there are a bunch of squid just laying in the sink. I'm like, ah! I scream. Mom laughs. She's like, are there beady little eyes looking at me? I'm like, you little devil. I mean, she ate anything under the sun. Dad was like, I want my red meat, I want some sort of potato. And because I've got kids, we'll have to have 2 veggies, so it'll be canned corn and green beans. And you'll have a salad. And so that's what we ate. And Mom would have pickled pig's feet in the morning or whatever, but that wasn't what we ate. She would eat anything under the sun. She would eat anything under the sun.